Hello, welcome to the Adventure Corner. I'm your host, Robot Spacer. So, World Builder. I was thinking that we had started this game a year ago for Marchintosh, but that's not quite true. I started playing Enchanted Scepters a year ago for Marchintosh. And then after finishing that, we started making a game. So April 1st is when we started making this last year. So I guess that's my adjusted optimistic deadline for finishing the game this year. We'll see. We don't have a lot to do, so I think it's attainable. 6-7, Efton, Green Castle Block, Silver Streak. Great to see you all. March to October, that's it. Only chill vibes? We'll see. Probably primarily. I think so. Silver says hello. Thank you for welcoming me to the Adventure Corner. You're welcome. And thank you. I was about to say, I thought you started on yes. Yeah, exactly. I believe I explicitly made an April Fool's comment about it. Oh, okay. I do not remember that. Verdant Tree, hello. Good morning. It's 5:45 p.m. here. To me, it's still afternoon. I mean, it's still light out. We wake up pretty late over here, so afternoon for me. But I hope you're having a good morning on Monday, 9:15 a.m. Oh, you're in an unusual time zone. That's interesting. By unusual, I just mean it's like a half hour off, in addition to all the other hours. Puzzle, hello, good to see you. Also woke up fairly late today, so I get it. Good. Someone says, this reminds me I should think about dinner. Not actually do anything about it, but just start thinking about it lovingly. I think that's a good plan. A half hour time zone, indeed. GMT plus 9:30. Okay. We're minus 5 or minus 4, depending. I honestly can't remember which it is right now. Maybe minus 5? Don't quote me on that. All right, so World Builder. I did absolutely zero preparation for this stream, other than to try to think really hard and remember what the hell we were doing and what we have left to do. We're not actually going to play the game right now, so let's close this and open up World Builder itself. So I have a note to remove library entrance cheat command. I don't even remember much about that. I think it's minus 5 right now, but it's been a fair bit since I needed to think along GMT. Yeah. Also EST, got it. So library cheat command. I assume that's in the library. We're just going to take care of this real quick. Oh, I should switch to the actual game scene. Y'all don't need to see my face huge while I'm doing this. I think the first thing we're going to do today is add the final scene. I don't think I want to do the art for it right away, at least, but we will. Okay. I am going to add this. Actually, no, I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to leave that there because that's a useful code to test the final scene we're going to work on as well. So I'm just going to move this down to a different list for things to do at the very end. So we're going to add the final scene and just like start to get that in there, but I don't know that I want to jump right into the art for it. I kind of can visualize what I want to do with it, but like, so the last scene at the end of the game, a bus appears at the bus stop, and then the last thing you do is get on the bus. So it'll be like a shot of like you're just stepping into the bus. So you can see a little bit of the bus around you. You can see the bus driver. And I guess there'll probably be like a thing to put a token in, your bus token in. And I can kind of picture all that. I can't quite picture what the bus driver looks like in particular. I think I maybe grabbed some reference photos, but they were just kind of like, you know, general, here's a person driving a bus reference. Also, we gotta figure out the exact name for the bus driver. Verdandry had a very good suggestion that perhaps Karen could be driving the bus. But I feel like I don't know if we want to go with the proper name there. Like we could do like Karen, or we could do the, like a lot of people pronounce this name Sharon. So we could do, you know, like the name, the more familiar modern name Sharon with SH. It's hard to pronounce these things. Or we could do like some completely made up variation that you would kind of pronounce similarly. If anyone else has other suggestions, feel free to give them in chat. And I think in a little bit we'll maybe vote on that. So to start with, let's add this scene. Let me catch up on chat here. Lied, I'm currently in GMT plus 1030 because of daylight savings. Okay. If I wanted to go completely off the wall, make her Australian and use the nickname for Sharon, Shazza. Interesting. I have never heard of this. That's fascinating. Y'all do some interesting stuff with words. I enjoy it a lot. Shazza. Did you ever play The Forgotten City? I did not. I am going to look it up right now. Forgotten City on Steam. Is this a recent game we're talking about? Just to make sure I have the right one. Oh, this one! Okay. This game looked cool as hell. I think I watched Mary Kish play some of it. And I should probably play it myself. It seemed super interesting. At this point, I don't remember a lot of it, but like I immediately saw the screenshots and I was like, oh shit, yeah, this looked so cool. Okay. It applies to a lot of names. Barry also becomes Baza. Jeremy becomes Jezza. Okay, interesting. Or Jez. Interesting. Fascinating. Puzzle says, oh, a sneaky little way of making the player think back and go, oh, wait, I like that idea. Good. I'm glad you like it. After waking up near a river, you meet a strange woman named Karen. Okay, so we have bus stop here. That's our starting scene. And then we have bus arrived over here. And then I guess we'll have bus entrance. I'm just trying to think of the exact like room name here. Should I lay these out? Let's do this for now at least. Didn't mean to open that. Oh right, so I was playing this game on my iPad. I posted the other day how I got Mini VMAC up and running on iPad, which was very exciting. And naturally, one of the things I did was play through this entire game so far on my iPad. And first of all, it worked really well, and I'm a little bummed, like, I don't really have any way to release it like that. Just because... you know, there's no intellectual property free emulator that you could share with other folks for Macintosh. You have both the system software and the ROM file. But anyway, it was really fun to play it on there. And one of the things that I noticed while playing through it was I got to the scene at the very end, and like the bus kind of stood out a little bit to me as not quite going with the rest of this scene. I think it's a little bit of a combination of, you know, this is the first thing I drew for the game mashed up with the most recent thing I drew for the game, one of the last things. And you know, I've clearly gotten a little more precise with things towards the end here. And just having those two things, you know, side by side on the same screen is a little, it's not super jarring, but you know, you can see a little bit of a difference here. And then the other thing that popped in my head was, oh damn it, we've drawn a very modern bus in a game set in 99 or 2000 or so. Wait. When is this set? Okay, I think that year is actually when we decided the Little Sweetie came out. So maybe we had never actually decided when this is set. Regardless, I do feel like maybe this bus is a little too modern looking. Anachronisms are fine. Yeah, I mean, the Little Sweetie itself isn't super realistic. We tried to make it reasonably realistic, but like it would be possible for a portable device with Wi-Fi at the time. It would probably have like awful battery life. And very expensive, which doesn't make sense for the way we've designed our device. But I don't think it's completely unrealistic. Anyways, I probably shouldn't worry about it, but it is something I noticed. But yeah, I think actually this game is probably set more like 10 or 15 years after that. I don't know that we've actually thought about this now that I'm thinking about it. Okay. I'll try not to worry about it, but I might tweak this scene some more. I don't know what exactly I would do to make these things mesh together a little better. F-Town says, I think you're okay. All right. So, was in the process of going into scene data, I think? Yeah. So if I uncheck this, then we'll be able to just go north to get on the bus. I don't know for sure if I want that, but I figure for now we'll set it up that way. And then you need to be able to get off the bus because there's a possibility that you could start to go in and then you don't actually have what you need to ride the bus. The room name as well. Oh, that's a separate thing. Why isn't that in this menu? There it is. Okay, so bus entrance. You're only seeing like 1/8 of that bus for like a minute or two. Yeah. You can CC me the letters you get from the bus people. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. And then I think we're going to have probably an ending scene. I'll definitely make the final call on this after we have it all playable and the art all in there, but I feel like my thought is like you go to the bus entrance scene, you put your token in, and then if it's just text at that point, I feel like it's not going to feel like a satisfying conclusion. I feel like it'll work a little better if we take you to like a final screen. Like it'll probably be a very minimal screen, maybe even just like all black or something, or maybe it says the end. I don't know. But just, you know, a very simple final scene, and then that scene will have kind of the closing text on it. So I'm trying to decide where to put that. I think I put most of our scenes like this along the top row. I think we'll continue doing that. I'm going to shift all these over. And we're going to stick the end right here. I think maybe we'll just name this room the end, so it'll say that on the title bar at the top. Maybe just like end better. I don't know. Okay. And let's just drop a black rectangle in here for now. I feel like that might be all we do. This is not going to be the actual text, but we'll just put some text in there as a placeholder. And then back over here, we have the bus entrance. And let me see how I did the bus schedule. Oh, speaking of the bus schedule, I keep double clicking when I want to look at something else. Actually, we want to look at the code here. Okay, so I was just wondering if I allowed you to go south to back out of this screen. Okay, yeah, I did. Okay. So we're gonna have some similar code for backing out of the bus entrance. Why does the code window start so tiny? Probably to make it less scary, I guess. Okay. So backing out of the bus stop, this is not appropriate, and this is wrong scene. Bus arrived is what we called it. Welcome. Bus arrived. Okay, so let's look at the verbs we got here. Done doesn't really make sense, but we might allow it. Close, return, put away definitely doesn't make sense. Back or step back makes sense. And then we allow south or S. I think we'll leave it at that for now. Actually, let me add a couple more. I think leave or exit are also going to be common ways to try to back out of a bus. Okay. Again, done and closed don't make a ton of sense, but like those are kind of standard ways that we've allowed the player to back out of a similar scene, so I think we'll keep them. And then we'll need to have code here to insert the token. So I think we can go ahead and start putting that in right now. Oh, let's start with code to let you get on the bus. Virtree says, I finished up a 2-month-long project yesterday for a university research project in VR chat, and I'm so glad to be done. Udon Sharp? Is that how you say that? Is so arbitrarily restrictive, and of course they announced a major update right as we finished up. Oh man. Well, congrats on completing that. Okay, so here we have... Oh, interesting. Okay, I gotta start making notes here because I was almost gonna mention a thing, and then I immediately forgot about it. So we have code here that allows the player to look at the schedule after the bus has arrived. I think instead of doing that, if they try to type this text, just to simplify things, we'll just say, you know, there's no need to do that. The bus is already here. We could just let them look at the schedule if they feel like it, but then we have to put extra code on the bus schedule scene to take them back to the correct state of the bus stop scene, and it's just like, nah, it's not worth it. And this, you know, also makes it clear that, you know, it's not something they need to worry about anymore. Udon Sharp is basically just a limited version of Unity C# but for VR chat. Can't use the most simple things like tags, but it can do a ton of networking. Ah, okay. And the documentation is often lacking. Oof. Lacking documentation for a programming language is not my favorite. Like, it can be a real challenge to figure out how the creators intended you to use things. Like this comes up a lot in Apple development stuff where the documentation is super lacking, and Apple doesn't release a lot of sample code. They've gotten better at it, and they've gotten better at documentation, but often it's just hard to find documentation or samples of how to use things. They like to announce things at their Worldwide Developer Conference, So often, like, a video of the conference will be kind of your primary source of information for something new. And things aren't finalized at that point. So that's when it gets really exciting, when the video is like your only source of information and it's not actually accurate anymore. Anyways, just a little programming documentation tangent there. Game Dev Jeff, hello. The nice thing about working with RetroTech, there are no huge updates happening. Exactly. I hope you're doing good. Ferntree says, I'm by no means a good coder either, so it's been extra challenging. Yeah. Okay. So we've got this handled now. Search text is fine. Okay. Oh, do we not actually... Oh, I bet I know what I did. I took out code for if you click on the schedule, but I missed that bit. I think that's what happened. Yes. Okay. Oh, and I do allow going north. Okay, but we didn't allow N, which is a mistake. Okay. All right, so let's copy this, and I'm actually going to put it back in. Because even though we're not allowing the player to look at the bus schedule anymore, I think it'll be potentially confusing if they're trying to do that and they click on it and nothing happens. So we want to respond to a click as well. That does mean we'll have to make another object here. Bus schedule small arrived is what we're going to call it. And I think also we're missing that art in our scene here. Yeah. So this is a little tricky because we need to move it over. But we'll figure it out. Bus schedule small. Let's go ahead and name that bus schedule. Schedule. So there it is, in the wrong spot. And let's see, does shift? Of course not. Of course not. Did I move it straight over? I think I did. Doing my best. Like, no one's ever going to notice if it shifts a little. But I'll know. I'll know, and it will bother me. Okay, is that how we had it? Let's see. I guess the easiest way to look at it is just paste it again here. Okay. Okay, so I think we want to go 1 pixel more to the right. Oh no, cancel. I can't just bring it to the front, huh? That's a real shame. I can't move these windows around because their placement will be saved, and we don't want to have to fuss with putting them back where they were. I would love to, you know, just have the two windows side by side to compare how things look, but it's complicated. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. So then we'll copy this back out, cut it back out rather. And paste it there. Okay, so that'll be clickable now. Okay, and then we need commands and buttons to let you get on the bus. Oh, we have this, but actually we're going to allow... We have automatic support for going north to get on the bus now. I don't think that's anything to worry about being confusing. Like before we allowed the player to go north to look at the schedule. And now we're allowing the player to go north to get on the bus because those things are both in that direction. I think it's fine. Man, I wish we could do comments in here. It should be great. It just occurred to me you could kind of do comments by having like an impossible if statement, and then you put a print command inside of that has your comment. That sounds a little too cursed, though. Also, like the strict character limits we're working with, it's just not worth it. But it would be interesting to do that. Yeah, exactly, Silver. And just like, I think it would, because we would be, you know, using print statements for it, I think it would get too confusing. Like, an important part of code comments is that you can, you know, see very clearly that they're a comment and not actual code. Like, so when you're looking through things, you're not going to get confused, and you don't have a concern about, you know, accidentally making a comment into something that could happen in the game. Okay, so we're gonna need some text commands to get on the bus. Let's go ahead and copy what we have for getting off the bus, and we'll kind of like reverse those verbs, and then consider if there's any others we want to add. Oh, right. We don't actually need this because these screens are side by side. Okay. How to order things. This here. Try to use the arrow keys again. Okay. So done and close. I don't think we really want, like, the opposites of those would be start or open. Those don't really make sense. Return, enter. It's definitely a big one. Wait, what did I just replace? Leave. Okay. Board? trying to think of... Feel free to offer other suggestions for getting onto the bus. I think I'm going to also require the player to use the word bus along with... Oops, goofed that up. Arrow keys. Oh god. It'll be interesting to do some more play testing. We've had the tiniest bit of play testing so far, which is very helpful, but I'll be really curious how many folks run into issues where they know the thing they need to do, but they're struggling with finding the right words for the game to recognize. Hey Davor, good to see you. It's gamer developer time indeed. Okay, so enter bus, board bus, get on the bus. Get on bus. That's all I can come up with. You're welcome. Ride? Yeah, makes sense. Embark. To me that implies that we're controlling the bus, wouldn't you say? We'll start with that, I think. Let's see. Is that all the code we need here? I think so. So then the next code we want to put in is code for inserting the bus token. Let's start with some text for this scene. I'm not going to draw anything here yet. You're standing in the entrance to a bus. The bus driver is looking at you expectantly. Shoot, what do you call the thing on a bus that you would put the token into? Davor said, I had started on the Crimson Diamond 2.0 and then wifey gives me the hey, I started dinner but I didn't have time to finish before work. Better get to it. Okay, thanks, bye. Okay, so that's kitchen time. I am still hoping to play some more of that this weekend. What do you call that thing? Shit. Like, so far, receptacle is the only word that's coming to mind. Ideally, we want to describe what it is clearly. Fare box? Coin receptacle? Hello, Dabby DB, welcome. Yeah, like coin receptacle is the best thing I could come up with. Fare box, is that like a common term? Like, I believe you. I just... people on Google are asking if it's one or two words. I feel like maybe splitting it up in two words. Little box for passenger fares is on a bus or streetcar. Oh, it says one word. Okay. Interesting. Alright. So we'll say there's a fare box Refractive. Seems good. So then we're going to add some code. Since it's been a little while, let me look at some previous code that involves an item, just to make sure I don't goof it up. Okay, so we have some of that in the storefront, right? Navigation from close-ups needs to be updated is a note that I've made to myself. How does it need to be updated, you might ask, as I am asking myself right now. I don't know. Maybe it's because we didn't handle the single letter navigation like I noticed in the bus schedule. I'm going to expand on my note. I don't know what this note means. Maybe add support for single letter north-south, east-west. Okay. I think in a very important part of programming is if you need to make a note to yourself, be clear. I frequently make notes assuming that I'll remember what I meant, and then it's like weeks later when I look at it and I'm like, I have no idea what this is referring to anymore. It's been too long. Oh no, Mount Beauty Island is invading the game dev streams. What does this note mean? Fortunately, it's not encoded, at least. It is written in plain English. Otherwise, I'd really be in trouble. If they're anything like your gaming notes, I would live in fear. Generally, they're a little better than that. I usually do a pretty good job with my programming notes. I think my world builder notes are not always clear because, you know, I'm in the middle of streaming and I don't want to spend a lot of time thinking and typing out good notes. So I try to do the minimal that will remind me of what I need to know. Okay, so let's see. I'm looking for the code where we give the egret something, which was right at the top, I think. I was just reminded there. If we basically have a new scene here, a new physical location. Sorry, lost in thought for a moment. Let me open this up and paste in this code I have here, and then I'll explain what I'm thinking about. Okay, that's just for later. We'll come back to that, hopefully. Game breaks unless you remember to tweak the thing. Yes, exactly. Perfect note. Okay, so we have in our World Builder game a way of keeping track where the player is, if that is a physical location. And this is very important. Because we have things like Credits, help screen. We sometimes have items that you can both carry and interact with. So when you go to one of those scenes, you need a way to get back to where we were. Oh, that's what navigation from close-ups needs to be updated. That's referring to coming back from bus arrived. Back to bus arrived. And then now we have bus entrance. Okay. So anytime you go to a close-up or the credits or whatever, we have a big old mess of code that has to be copied across all the scenes. And it checks what this variable is set to. Unfortunately, our variables can only be set to a number, so we have to look at that number and then take you to the appropriate scene. So as you can see here, we haven't updated for bus arrived yet. So that's what I was referring to with that note. So that's 14, and then 15 is going to be this bus entrance scene we just added. And then we also have an ending scene. And I'm trying to think of how we handle that. We certainly want you to be able to go from the to the credits from the ending scene. But does it make sense to go back, is the question. It weirdly reminds me of making games on the TI-83. I can kind of understand that. Just weird limitations. Can't be set to string or bool or float. Nope. I mean, you could make we have made, a boolean just 0 or 1. But you can't write it as true or false, or you can't check it that way. And it can't be a floating point number either. Integers only. Can you bitwise cast from float to int? No. Do we even have floating point numbers in here? I don't think we do. I don't think so. Like, you can do math, but I kind of feel like if you do math that gets you a fractional number, like, it'll just kind of round it. I can't remember. Let's see if this is covered in the manual at all. Frozer, hello, welcome y'all. Thank you so much for coming by. We're just cracking open the World Builder manual here. What are you up to? Software and game dev, nice. Oh, working on an Android app, nice. I hope you had a good stream. So we're working on, let me pop open a little window of what we're looking at. Very tiny, but this is a program from 1986 called World Builder for old Macintosh computers. And I used this a bit as a kid and found it really enjoyable. So I thought it'd be fun to go back to it and try making like a more thorough game than I was ever able to accomplish when I was 12 or whatever. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's also been a significant challenge because there's a very limited programming language. We were just talking about whether or not this supports floating point numbers at all. I honestly don't know the answer to this, and I thought I'd see if the manual gives me any hints. Like, we can do some math, so you could say 5 divided by 2, for example. So, that'd be 2.5. But I don't know if you can, take the result of that and check if it equals 2.5. I feel like that might not be allowed. Yeah, I feel like all our comparisons are just integers. And that's all we can store in a variable as well. Okay, user variables stand for numbers just like other numeric variables. With user variables, however, you get to decide just what number is stored in the variable and what it stands for. A user variable is a letter number combination of a single uppercase letter, A through Z, followed by a single digit, 1 through 9. The usual numeric variable sign is also part of the variable name. The following are examples of allowed variable names. Okay, numbers assigned to variables must be whole numbers in the range -32,768 to 32,767. You can't use commas in the number. Okay, so that confirms what I already knew about variables. Thank you for the follow. Great to have you here. So, like I said, this is being written, the game engine is called World Builder. The programming language itself is a custom language that was made for World Builder. It doesn't really have a name of its own. It's a pretty simple language. Let me switch back here so y'all can take a better look at some code we've written here. So I was just talking about this code. Because you can only set a variable to an integer, we have a situation here where we have a variable that we're setting to a number, and then later we check that and then take the player to a certain location based on what that number is set to. And this is our way of taking the player back to where they were if they're going to like a close-up of an object that they're looking at and interacting with. This is not really something that the World Builder game engine was designed to do, but we've made it happen. It works perfectly fine. It's just clunky to deal with. The other big thing is there is a screen of global code in here, so that's code that'll run no matter what room you're in. But it's limited in length by around 8,000 characters, which fills up pretty quickly. And there's also no functions. So ultimately, we've had to take this block of code and paste it across, like, at this point, maybe a dozen different scenes or something like that. So it's a lot to manage, but we're making it work. That's the important thing. Like, I imagine 5 divided by 6 equals 0. Maybe. I'm hoping I can find something to make that clear. I don't know. I don't know that the appendix is going to answer this. Probably the best place to look is when we're talking about how to do comparisons of calculations and stuff. Advanced Adventure Code. Oh, Adventure Code. Is that what they call it? Or are they using that as kind of a general way to describe it? Okay, so here's equal signs, but they're using that with words here. Okay, here's numeric variables. Somewhere we have math discussed. The appendix is not very good, I guess. I tried looking up division and math in the appendix, but it's not mentioned either. Numeric comparisons? Numeric variables. I don't know that we're going to get an answer to this. Let's try it. Let's just try it. I'm just very curious what will happen. Okay, and we'll come back to this in a bit. It's fine for now. I'll probably finish that up off stream. Rush Pirate, hello. Good to see you. Hope you're doing good. Ooh, been playing some Phoenix Wright. Nice. Okay. So let's learn about the limitations of World Builder and math. We're going to go to our bus stop. And we're just going to put if 5 divided by 2 equals 2.5, then print it works. We'll probably find out very quick here because we might just get a syntax error when I try to close this window. I think I've done the division correctly. Pretty sure that's the right way to do it in here. It said, oh, it didn't give a syntax error. Okay. So that code should run as soon as I open up the game now. And then either it'll say it works or it won't. This is very exciting. Oh, it's on the next scene. Okay, so it didn't say it. All right, let's do further experiments. I hope this is interesting to at least one of you. This time, since that didn't just straight up give me a syntax error, I'm going to try a few different variations. So let's see if it's greater than 2.4. Because, typically with floating point math, you get some rounding errors. And we'll check if it's less than 2.6. And then we will also check if it equals 2 or if it equals 3, which will tell us if it's rounding the result or not. Welcome, Rush Pirate. Oh, we got a syntax error. Exciting. Oh, does it need to be 2 equals? Huh. What? Is that not something we can do? That's interesting. Okay, let's back up a little. Let Z9 number equal... Oh, that's not correct. Equal 5. Because I think math with variables is something we can definitely do. I'm not sure if we need to do the math separate from the comparison. Okay. Is 2.4 valid syntax? I mean, it's not complaining about it. I was honestly surprised that it would allow me to do that, but it's not complaining about it. I almost wonder if it's getting confused by it, or... Oh, I wonder if that's like a valid object name. So, for an object or a room, you type a name in plain English, and that is also how you refer to that room or object in code. And there's not any like validation done on that. So if you refer to something that doesn't exist, it just will, you know, assume that, you know, there will or could be an object with that name. So that might be what's going on with 2.4. And you can use less than or greater than to compare a variable with Oh, now it's complaining about that? Huh. What? It's so strange. Alright, we might be done with our experiments here. Let's try one last, since it will allow the syntax of these two. Let's try those two, and then we'll be done. Okay, nothing. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I didn't somehow set it up so that we needed to do an action. So yeah, I don't think it understands a fraction at all. Well, yeah, I think that's fair to say. I was going to say, well, maybe it's just that it's confused by the code we've written, but if there's no way to have it recognize a floating point number, like, it doesn't really matter if it understands them in any other way, because there's no way you can use it. Okay, back to what we were doing. Back to useful things. That was a fun little bit of experimenting to do, though. Can you just do if 5 divided by 6 is greater than 0? I mean, it didn't seem to like it. For some reason I don't really understand. Once I took out the period, it complained about the math. About the comparison, rather. Oh, okay. So we can do let z3 number sign equal random number sign divided by 2, which gives us a random number between 0 and 50. But if Z9 number sign is greater than 0, then print. Okay. Okay. don't know what I did different there. I thought that was pretty similar to what I was just trying, but... Okay, so it still didn't print anything. That's interesting. Also, oops. Oh, okay. I forgot to change this object. It is set to appear in the bus stop scene, but it should be in bus arrived. Completely blanked on that. So that worked. Kind of. Next question is, does it equal 0? I know you can do equals with a variable. Yeah, okay. I don't know what I was doing. Clearly doing something wrong. Okay, we gotta scroll all the way to the bottom of this. Thank you for the follow. Good to have you here. This is the only way to scroll through our long, long object list. Believe me, I've tried other ways. Okay, so we want object data. And we want to change this to bus arrived. This other stuff should be correct. That doesn't really matter. Value doesn't matter. A mobile object is our important thing here. Don't want the player to pick it up. Why did I click cancel? It's in the spot I expected OK to be. That's why. Why is it over there? Okay. So now we can check two things at the same time. Oh, I was looking at the bottom before, but due to reasons, it's actually appearing at the top. Hopefully that doesn't mean I missed something. But we have confirmed that 5 divided by 6 equals 0. So it's definitely rounding. The next big question is, how does the rounding work? But we're not going to worry about that. We've also gotten rid of our improperly placed bus schedule here. Let's go east. We got another OK there. And let's see, cheat win, I think, was our cheat code. And then we can go back west. And now we're here again, and we have our bus schedule. There's no need. The bus has already arrived. Let's see, we do examine schedule. Yes, great. And, oh right, we need to create an object to click on to get on the bus, but we should be able to enter the bus. And we're there. And we didn't write the code to handle the token yet. 5 divided by 6 equals 0 is flooring, not rounding IMO. Right. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. So I think that pretty much answers how the rounding works. Or flooring if you prefer. I mean, it's always rounding down to the nearest whole number. Or not to the nearest. It rounds down to a whole number. Okay. Which honestly doesn't seem great, but you know, obviously, like, this was developed before the original Mac came out. I'm pretty sure. World Builder itself didn't come out until a couple years later, but I believe it was at the very least, it was first created, and Enchanted Scepters, which was made with it, was released in '84, the same year the original Mac came out. And computers were a lot more limited then, and like I think a lot of choices in this game engine were just made for simplicity. And for the kind of stuff that it's designed to do, like, it doesn't really matter that much. How that works. It does become a little bit of a problem. Like, I think I've run into some cases where, like, if you ask for a random number, you get a number that's 0 through 100. So if you want a smaller range, you do some division on the random number. But I think because it's always rounding down, that can do some unexpected things, basically, which I did run into at least once. David says, technically the nearest integer since whole numbers are all non-negative. Got it. 5 divided by 6 equals 0 is very standard integer math, IMO. Okay. I'm definitely not... I'm not a programming guy, and much to my dismay, my math education ended earlier than I would have liked, because my art school is afraid of math. I think artists are afraid of math often. It's certainly my art school went on that assumption and refused to teach math of any kind. Would 11 divided by 6 give 1 or 0? Oh, you're asking, is it error catching or flooring? I think it's probably flooring. We can try it if you're curious. I feel pretty confident now that it's flooring. Like, I think if it was error catching, it would something different would happen, I think, yeah, I don't think it would equal 0 even, because that's a concern that has come up. Like, supposedly when a variable, has not been set to something, it's a number that is not equal to 0. Although in my experience, it seems like it is. But it is recommended that you check if you want to check if a variable has been set. The proper way to do that is to check if it's greater than 0, which means that it's been set. Anyways, so we'll check that next time we go in there. And let's get some code in our bus entrance to insert the token. I'm also afraid of math, so I understand. I personally am not afraid of math. I think math is great. I found it pretty enjoyable while I was being taught it. And then I went to a school where they refused to do that any further. So we're checking if the player has the token, which I can type. And we are going to allow a bunch of different verbs like insert, drop. Drop is like a standard verb to drop an item, but I think we'll allow that. I think that's appropriate. Offer token is maybe a little weird, but we'll allow it. Give token, I think that's fine. If we wanted to be funny, we could maybe have special handling of offer or give. So the bus driver is like, "What the hell, man? Just put it in the in the receptacle." But for now, I don't think we'll do that. Throw or toss. I think that would be very rude. Again, we could handle that in some way if we wanted to be funny. But for now, we're not going to worry about it. If anyone has any other like suggestions of verbs you would just like naturally type to put the token, put I guess is not bad. Place. Oops, I goofed up. Like I'm imagining someone typing, you know, put token in box or place token in box. So like this will catch that, and we're just not bothering to worry about the rest of the sentence. Put place, insert, deposit. That's a good one. Thank you. Insert, put, place, deposit, drop, offer, give. So then we have move token to storage. And that'll get you a point. Okay, yeah, Z1. Oh, that reminds me. I have a list of variables. I've been writing them down, but I also started keeping a list of variables on my computer here. Okay, so this is our score that we add 1 to, and then we play our point sound. And I'm just thinking about how this will play out. So like you'll get to the bus entrance and you'll see the bus driver and the fare box there, and you'll have some text describing this scene, and then you insert the token, and then we're going to have some sort of text that explains the result of this action and then just kind of concludes the game. I think that will all happen on our ending screen. I think that's at least what we're going to do with for now. So we're not going to bother to print anything here. We are just going to move the player to that scene. So we move player at to end. Side note, mad respect to Maple Mystery for not handling the use verb. I noticed that the other day. I think that it's an interesting choice. And I certainly wouldn't try to argue with anyone about it. I don't know that I would necessarily always reject that verb. Like I feel like there's certain cases where it's fine to say use as the verb. I can't think of a good example at the moment. Okay, so if the token belongs to the player and they type insert, put, place, deposit, drop, offer, or give, a single equal sign in a text comparison just means contains. So if their input contains one of those words and then also contains the word token, I guess we'll allow coin also. Even though we exclusively refer to it as a token, I think maybe coin is something that someone might type. It's not really thinking about it. And generally, unless there's a reason to be picky about things, I've tried to be flexible. So then we move the token to the storage, which is just like an empty void where we can put items that aren't accessible anymore, unless we in code move them out. We increase the score by 1, we play the point sound, and we move the player to the end scene. So we should be able to play our game to the ending scene now. And it'll just say you did it. I feel like the main reason for allowing use is like an object that has a single and obvious intended purpose. I'm trying to think of flashlight is the first example that popped in my head. I guess with a flashlight you could maybe be particular about I mean, you could use it in non-obvious ways. Like, I don't know, you could turn it on or you could turn it off. You could throw it at someone or hit someone with it, I guess. But to me, like, if I'm writing a text parser game, I would probably allow a person to use flashlight as a way to turn it on. Hello, Stampede. Oh, I also missed hello, Noah Lee. Welcome, y'all. Does it work even if you lack a token? No, that is the first thing we checked for. Okay, but we'll test that right now. So we're going to go east here, and we're going to type cheat win. So this cheat code I added in, it just sets a variable that makes the bus arrive. So we still don't have a token. We have a rapier sharp wit and a fish. So here's our bus. You're at a bus stop. It looks nice from a distance. A bus has arrived and is waiting for passengers to board. There are paths leading off to the south and east. So let's go north to get on the bus. You're standing in the entrance to a bus. The bus driver is looking at you expectantly. There's a fare box in front of you. So let's put the token in the fare box. What? We might actually want to respond to that better than just what and say, you don't have a token. So I think that's something we should do. I think we'll also allow money as a way to say that, like put money in fare box. Put coin in fare box. Huh? Because I checked if the player has the token first, it's just not getting to the other code at all. So it's basically the game is responding as though it doesn't understand that command because it didn't get to our code that handles that command. Okay, so let's go south. And south again. And let's see. I think we need to deal with the egret first. Okay. If we try to do anything, the egret chases us off because it's very interested in our fish. So we're going to give them the fish. And now we can search and find the token. You now have the token. Okay. And now we can deposit token. You did it. The end. What a great game. Okay. So one thing I was talking about is going to the credits from here. And like right now, I think this will actually take us back to, yeah, to here. I'm trying to, like, there's two ways I could handle this. We could allow the player to go back to the end screen, or we could change the buttons on the credits screen so that they can't go back to the game. Is there a way to quit with a command? I don't think there is. So yeah, I think we'll allow them to go back to the end screen. It just seems like the easiest way to do things. So then, even though it's not really a physical location, we'll kind of treat it as one. Going to find a TCD interaction that forgot to check your inventory. Let's see. Just scrolling through my notes on my computer here. So 16 is end. Also things like use imagination. That would be an interesting text parser command, though. What would the result of that be? Okay. I already spaced out and forgot what we were doing. Credits. Use Banhammer. Did we run out of music? Jeez. That means I've been going too long without a break. Oh. No, it means it's a short playlist. Jeez. I should take a break, though. Oh yeah, I started a bit before I actually started stream. Okay, so move player to end. And we will eventually need to copy and paste all that code elsewhere, but I'm going to do that off stream. Probably only use imagination if the player was directly told to do so by a character, and then probably as a gag. So then the next thing we need to do is set our location variable when we get to the end screen. scene has too much code. Mirror, I don't think has much code. Oh, that's a close-up though. We'll just go with bus stop. I always like to copy and paste my code. Since we don't have any since we don't have clearly named variables and we don't have checking of object names and stuff, I strongly prefer to copy and paste some similar code anytime I'm writing something new. I feel like that slightly reduces my chance of errors. So like in this case, I know I've got the right variable because I copied the code from somewhere else. So we're setting that to 16 here. We should take a look at the credits code because I think there's some stuff in there that we want to put into our ending scene also. For example, we don't want the player to drop items in the credits, which is also true of our ending scene. And then we don't want the player to open the credits from the credits. Wait, is that actually a thing I've accounted for? It might not be. Oh god. I think I did. I'm kind of scared for people to play this. If you ever play this game, please don't try too hard to find bugs. There's definitely going to be bugs in it. If someone unintentionally discovers a bug just by trying to play it normally, then I will gladly do my best to fix it. If someone is going out of their way to find a bug, I absolutely will not fix it. Why not drop items in the credits? That sounds funny. I mean, I think there's a valid argument for that. However, I do not plan to support it at this time. Let's see. I'm just looking for things to copy and paste that we want to handle differently. So we have drop and search are two commands we want to intercept. Open. That makes sure that we can't, for example, open our little PDA device that we have in the game. Oh god, I don't have anything to prevent you from opening the credits from the credits. I guess that's okay though. I mean, it'll just take you to the credits, which you're already there. So it's not really a big deal. Let me think of what else we might need to do. Did I change anything? I don't think so. Like an Inception, exactly. And I'm also trying to decide if we should allow the player to open the help screens from here. I guess it's a little silly, but there's no reason to not let them do it if they want to. New credits warp discovered. Should send you to the secret credits. We already have a secret area. That would be interesting, though. I don't know what the secret credits would be. How do we want to respond to trying to open something here? There's no need to do that anymore. Let's use that response for all these. I could combine all these, but since I generally handle these separate, I don't think I'm going to do that. Just for some consistency. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to handle here. Let's take a look at some other similar scenes. We have all the directions are blocked off, so that's, you're prevented from going anywhere automatically, so we don't have to write code to handle that. All right, we have a command to check the score. That should automatically work anywhere, but we definitely want that to work on the ending screen. Do we want that to happen automatically? Maybe? Maybe we'll go ahead and put that in. And if it feels like it's too gamey, like if it feels like it's just like it's a kind of silly game, but it's also kind of serious in some respects. So like if it feels like the wrong tone for our ending scene, then instead of printing the score, maybe we'll have something that reminds the player they can check the score if they like. But I think for now we'll put code in to print the score automatically on the ending screen. We can use that to see how it feels. Okay, so we have. God, I have a bunch of cases where I don't check for the single letter navigation. I'm gonna write myself a note about that. Imagine a point-and-click game doing that with their end scene. Okay, so global code. I'm gonna make my emulator go at full speed before we open the global code. Otherwise, we'll be here for a bit. Okay, so I can't remember where the score is in all this mess. Just scroll through until we find it. Score. Okay. So again, since we don't have any sort of functions here, there's no way to actually Okay, I think we can do this. I think we can do this without duplicating this. Maybe. Oh. I don't think we can. Okay, so let me walk you through the thing I just thought about here. Like, we want this to print automatically on the ending screen, right? So we can do if text $= score or player at equals end. Then we print this. However, this code will print the score on the ending screen after every user action, which there's probably not going to be that many user actions there. But for example, like if they type credits, that code is currently after the score command, and we don't want, like, this code will basically make it impossible to use the credits command on the ending screen. It would just print your score instead. We could shift things around so that doesn't happen, but I think this is just not good code to have in here. We could potentially kind of fix it by saying if player is in the ending screen and loop number equals 0. Loop is a variable that's set automatically. When you first enter a new room, it's set to 0. Each action you take increases it by 1. So if it's 0, that means they've just gotten to a new room and they haven't typed or clicked on anything yet. So this potentially does what we want, but it's actually not possible to combine an or and an and in a single statement. Like, you know, it'd be great if we could put additional brackets around here. That's not something that's supported. So I think what we want to do is just make this a separate. We're just going to have to duplicate the code. There's actually not anything we want to save here, so we'll just close that. Okay. So we're just going to say if loop equals 0, then we'll print the score. And if we ever change this, we'll just have to copy and paste. That's just part of World Builder life. So last I tallied everything up, there was a total of 24 possible points. After thinking about it a lot, I eventually decided to just make every point action a single point. And then, slightly unfortunately, the way this prints out, if you don't have the maximum points, it says your current score is, and then the score is on a line by itself, and then it says out of 24 possible points. I would love to format this on a single line, but there's no way to include a variable within a string. So we have to print it out separately on its own line. Not a huge deal, but just thought that was an interesting limitation worth mentioning. Okay, so I think that is going to end up printed out before the room description, which is a little bit annoying. That probably just means we'll do the room description in code if we end up keeping this. Let's go see how that works real quick. I think On Secret Crush is done gaming. Hello? All done? Okay. Absolutely not. Hell yes. We're having pizza, y'all. Very exciting. That does mean I should wrap up soonish. She left, but if I see her again, I will let her know that you said hello. Hello, Zerfall. It's definitely interesting how limited some things are, considering this sort of thing is very common. Right. But back when this was created, a lot of this stuff wasn't super common. I mean, Enchanted Scepters was basically, it was one of the first point-and-click games, period, and it was probably the first English language point-and-click game. So just to give some context for like how early in the timeline of adventure games this was. And I mean, adventure games in general started around 75, 76. So this was about 10 years after that, which isn't a huge amount of time. Oh, she was in chat. Okay, I wasn't sure. Hello, On Secret Crush. I guess I should have known you had a tab open. You are a good mod, it's true. Who's not actually paying attention. I'm sure if there was anything disastrous happening, you would notice and probably yell at me that I needed to deal with it. But like even basic lets you print variables in line, so it's surprising they wouldn't implement that. Yeah, I think probably the issue there is, well, first of all, like it makes it kind of complicated to figure out how that code is written. Like there has to be some way to like join strings together with the variable, so like it complicates the whole syntax of it. And then that combined with, for the intended usage, you probably wouldn't need to print a variable that often, if ever. Like I think probably the thought that was that most people wouldn't need to print a variable at all. Because again, all you can store in a variable is a number, only whole numbers. Anyways, let's cheat to win, and then we're gonna cheat to get all our items here, so we can save some time. Get on the bus and insert the token. Current score is 1 out of possible 24 points. We got 1 point for inserting the token. Why did we not get any room description at all? That's weird, right? We had one, didn't we? Did I... Printing something shouldn't obliterate the room description. It's not supposed to happen. Yeah, it should have said you did it. I'm typing more text because I'm wondering if there's some weird bug here where if it's like only, if it's short enough, then it won't print or something. Like, that's the only thing I can think of that's different from other scenarios where I've done this. I don't think it ultimately matters because I'm gonna change how that text is printed. But I want to understand it. Okay, we're not allowed to understand it. World Builder simply does what it wants, and we must accept it. Huh. We gotta have something here. And I don't know what it is. It's definitely gonna bother me until I figure out what kind of image we can put here. I think ultimately I'll have to wait and figure that out after I've figured out what this screen is going to say exactly. Because like the tone of the ending is going to determine how I want this all to look and feel. Okay. Oh, this should also say your final score, not your current score. So we actually want that to be different from the command when you're still playing the game. really don't understand why it's not printing the scene description. Oh. Exit. That's why. I forgot about this. If you type exit, then it won't execute any further code. But it also won't print the room description if you have one. I'm pretty sure this is something I came across previously. I just forgot about it. So normally, like, if you're responding to a command, you want that to be an exit because you don't want to waste time checking if it's some other command. You don't want to, accidentally respond to two different commands. But for something that happens automatically like this, you generally want to do end so that it continues on and does all your other default behaviors. Okay, so this text is still appropriate, but this should say your final score is. Should we say something? Should we say something to encourage the player to try to get the maximum score? Better luck next time. We won't leave that in, but for now it's funny. Okay, now it works. Your final score is 1 out of the possible 24 points. Better luck next time. You did it. Why didn't this text print? I know in other cases it will. Okay, so we fixed that finally. But as I was saying, like, our code text is always going to print before the room description. So we don't really want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to move our whole room description into the code. And again, in this case, I just want to look at how I've done this in other situations, because sometimes there's little quirks that I've figured out how to deal with best. That I might have forgotten about. Huh. Oh. This is a thing where I really wish I had a comment here to remind me. But I believe at some point I determined that although you can accomplish putting a room description in code by checking if loop equals 0, World Builder is actually issuing a look command to the game engine. So the best way to do it is actually check for look, and that's all you need to do. I'm pretty sure that's what I ended up figuring out here. And like I said, I'm glad I checked because I had completely forgotten about that. Hello, Snowy. Welcome. Bonus stream hype. Unfortunately, the bonus stream is almost over, but it has been enjoyable and productive. And there will be pizza after. You're all invited. That's not true. We won't have enough pizza. I'm sorry. Okay. So now we're just going to print you did it. In this case, like, we might not necessarily want the player to be able to repeat this closing text, but I don't see any reason to not allow it. And depending on what the closing text is, we can just figure that out later. We do want to print. Okay, we have a blank line. Okay. Let's actually type a little more. Again, not at all final. I'm just filling some things in here. Salt Ranger, hello. Cheat win, cheat chat items, cheat items. Put token in receptacle. You did it. You've completed the game. Great job. I fucked it up again. I think that's another case of having an exit. Yeah, I wanted to combine that with the score output, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah. So this whole thing is our final text. There we go. You did it. You've completed the game. Great job. Your final score is 1 out of a possible 24 points. Better luck next time. Why did we get multiple blank spaces? It's not a huge problem, but it does annoy me. We probably have a blank space that's part of the room description. Oh, maybe we do actually want to exit now. I think, yeah, because I copied and pasted code that had exit there. Yeah, okay. And then we avoid that room description and the blank line printing. Okay. So, probably still have a tiny bit of time before dinner's ready. I do need a quick bathroom break, and we talked earlier about the bus driver's name. I think we should go ahead and do that poll now. So if anyone has any additional bus driver name suggestions, get them out now. So the ones we're considering, I'm going to type them all because like the pronunciation differences are kind of subtle. So those are the ones we have so far. And also, just to give you a little bit better context, like obviously we're making an association here with Karen, the ferryman, that takes you across the river Styx, which is appropriate to our game. In our game, it's not going to be. We're not going to make it obvious that this is the bus driver's name. I think you'll have to probably look at something. I guess we might potentially mention it in text. I don't think it'll be visible, just because like their name tag is going to be too tiny for it to be legible. But we'll mention it in text in one way or another, whether that's automatically or with the player, looking around. So I'm going to go with these three. But let's see. I'll put an other option, and if you vote for other, please mention your suggestion in chat, and I'll tally those up. And if it seems like we get a lot of other votes, then we could potentially do another poll. But let's make this a 10-minute poll. I guess that's our longest. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, and then I will take a quick break and be back in a couple of minutes. Hello. So Sharon is in the lead with 4 votes. One thing I should have explained my reasoning here a little bit. The reason that I didn't just decide on this myself. So we have Karen, or depending on your pronunciation, Sharon, Charon. I think there's also some other slight differences on that I've heard. So a while back, I tried to look into the correct pronunciation for this, and as far as I could determine, knowledgeable people agree that it is pronounced Karen, but I think Sharon is, at least in the US, seems like a more common pronunciation of it. So if we use a name like Karen, Karen, or Sharon, Sharon, as a way of referring to this, like, whether or not you get the reference, whether or not you get the joke, depends on how you would pronounce Karen or Sharon. So it's complicated. So that's why I figured we'd do a poll. And I do think that probably Sharon is the correct choice for most people to understand what we're going for. Yeah, like Unsecret Crush says, Karen might not get clocked as a reference to the Ferryman of the Dead. Exactly. Salt says, I like Sharon because it's referential and everyone will know how to say it. Right. And Deavor says, I think in a text media, the 1-letter difference will work better. Right. Yeah, and then Unsecret Crush gives the additional complication, which has also crossed my mind. I think the more common understanding of what Karen refers to will give the wrong impression. Yeah, exactly. So complicated to make a goofy little reference. No worries, Salt. Okay. So we still got probably a minute and a half on that poll. Get your votes in now if you haven't already. But it looks like we'll probably end up going with Sharon. Sharon. Okay. Oh, yeah. So I forgot to mention we're currently waiting for pizza dough to thaw. So we actually have more time than I was originally thinking because pizza was a last-minute decision. It takes a little bit. So we can do some more things here. Let's start with the thing I made a note about earlier, which is giving a better response to the player not having a token. So that'll be on bus entrance. So the way we handle it now, we're checking first if the player has the token. And Sharon with an S wins 4 votes. We had 2 votes for Karen with a CH and 1 vote for Karen with a K. Thank you all for your feedback. Let's see. This should be an exit. Yeah. Okay. Typically, the way I've done this, if we have like a fallback response, if some condition is not met, then we check for the condition and then exit. And then otherwise, we just continue and print something else. You don't have we'll say bus token. Why not? You don't have a bus token. Actually, let's say you don't have a token for the bus fare. Okay, and I did just remember the very good images that I came across of bus tokens. I'm trying to let's see. One moment. I want to share this image, but I didn't set up my browser scene, so I gotta click a couple things here. Okay. So this is a token from, like, I want to say Minneapolis. Don't quote me on that. Not super important, but the fact is, it's very cool. I love the design. And it's also specifically a transfer token. I also kind of love that its value is 2.5 cents. I don't know if we'll necessarily have a place to show what the token looks like close up in the game. But if nothing else, I thought it would be fun to make this the app icon, which is something we will do probably after we've wrapped up almost everything else. So I was just thinking about that and thought I'd share it again because it's great. Minneapolis is the underworld check. Okay. So that should work correctly. We'll want to test it. I guess we'll go ahead and do that now. Oh no. What'd I do? Oh. Ended up with an extra end in there. Okay. Let me double check things. Okay. I think that's all correct. Don't have a token for the bus fare. Great. So we can do cheat items. Oh, this is something I hadn't thought of. We might want to prevent dropping items on the bus entrance screen also. Just because the way I had planned to draw it, there would not be a surface on that part of the screen where it would be appropriate to put items. And there's no need to drop any items at this point in the game. So I think we can just disable that. So now we can insert coin again, and it works. Great. Oops, I didn't mean to save. It's the end of the game, we don't need to save. Oh right, we can actually make our own quit command. I hadn't really thought of that. You can effectively end the game by moving the player into storage. World Builder handles that scenario by presenting a game over screen. In general, my thought has been that it's not really something we care to do because, like, it says game over. It's just a little alert box that comes up, and it doesn't seem like it doesn't really fit with the way our game ends, I would say. But it's something we could do. Okay, another note I made was to allow saying insert money. Oh, we should also allow fair. I try not to go too overboard with synonyms, but sometimes it's hard to not want to be flexible about it, for me at least. Okay, so now I'm looking at my notes to figure out what we want to do next. Boring stuff I think we'll leave for off stream. Okay, so I think the thing we're going to work on now, I've had a note for a long time that the final email should have an option to reply to it. So for that, we need to create a new UI. Sorry, I'm also looking through my notes here. And checking things off, which is great. We're checking so many things off. Zorchenheimer, let me know if I said that correctly. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming by. Also doing software and game development, more study box reverse engineering. That sounds interesting. If you'd like to share any more about what you're doing, I would love to hear about it. But thank you so much for coming by. We are making a game in World Builder, which was released in 1986 for the original Macintosh. It was created by William C. Appleton. Here's the manual for it. Unfortunately, I don't have my floppy disk handy. I think it's in the other room. But it was designed for a game called Enchanted Scepters, which was like the first English language point-and-click adventure game. And it was later released for anyone to make games with it. And I thought it'd be fun to go back and try to make a game in this engine that is very, very simple. I've tried to keep our game pretty simple, but we're also kind of pushing the boundaries of what it's designed for. Bridgewater, hello. It's been a while. How goes the world building? It's going pretty good. I started on this last April, and I'm going to try to finish it before we hit the year mark here. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you for the follow. Good to have you here. So what was I about to do? Oh, right. I had just remembered that we had a particular action that I wanted to allow that we didn't account for yet. So this is a scene at the very end of our game, and we have this bus you can get on. And World Builder's kind of weird because there's lots of things you can do by clicking on the screen. You also have menus that you can choose actions from, and then you can also type commands that are handled by a very simplistic text parser. And a lot of World Builder games have certain actions that you're just expected to click, certain actions that you kind of have to type. And it's not always consistent. There's certainly some cases where you can do both, but I've tried to be as flexible as I can. So in this case, we want the player to be able to get on the bus by clicking on the opening for the door here. So the way we need to accomplish that is by creating a separate object that is the shape of this opening, and then the player will be able to click on that to get inside. So I'm just copying that, and then we're going to create a new object, and we'll name this bus door. And then we got to scroll all the way down, which takes a little while. And we can paste that in. Verdant Tree says, Space, I have a hypothetical for you. You release this version of the game, and a mysterious benefactor bankrolls you to create a full, robust version of it in a modern engine. What changes do you make, and what engine do you think you'd use? Well, we a little bit already have an answer to that. In that I am already planning to create a Playdate version of it. So my and I'll get out my Playdate in case there are any folks here that are not familiar with this little system. This is the Playdate. It's a tiny little handheld from a company called Panic in Portland. It's got a crank. No, it does not charge it. It's just for fun. My battery's dead, so I can't show you anything. But this is a neat little system, and I thought it'd be fun to make a version of the game that you could play on this. It has a black and white screen, and it all feels very like Panic is a company that started out making Mac software, and the whole system feels like very inspired by early Mac stuff. And the resolution it's a very high resolution for such a tiny screen, but it kind of works out perfectly for porting graphics over. I basically just have to make everything kind of widescreen. So I already started playing around with that. Teenage Engineering, yeah, they worked with Teenage Engineering to design the hardware for it. Also, hello, Rajar Shikatua 100. Please correct me if I'm saying that wrong, or if there's like a short version of any name you prefer or anything like that. Rajarshi? Salt says, I don't know why exactly, but I assume that was supposed to be love. I love an unnecessarily high resolution. Rajarshi? Rajarshi? Thank you for your patience as I try to get this correct. I love an unnecessarily high resolution screen on a small device. The Analog Pocket is like that too. Right, yeah. Yeah, I tried to get an Analog Pocket a while ago, but none of my credit cards worked for some reason. Like, it wasn't a problem with the card. Like, it wasn't my fault. It was just like they wouldn't let me use the card for some reason. So yeah, that's my plan. I would love to also make a version that is maybe a little more accessible to people. Like, this kind of, I started thinking about this when I was playing the game in a Mac emulator on my iPad. Like, I was like, man, this is kind of nice. It'd be great if I could just like release this, but that would require completely rewriting it. So then I started looking into, like, my thought was, well, if I'm already committed to making a version of the game in Lua, maybe there's some other game engine that supports a bunch of platforms where I can keep a lot of that Lua code and just like rewrite all the graphics related stuff, which is ultimately, I think, is going to be relatively simple. So, if I could do that, then I could port it to a bunch of different systems without spending too much time on it. I am still kind of looking into that. I thought I found one that I liked, but then it turned out it basically converts everything to an Electron app. I'm not going to go on a rant about Electron apps, but they're not my favorite. I would prefer something that can like create native code, or at least something with somewhat less weird overhead than Electron. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I'm still kind of looking into that. You've never heard of Electron? Okay, well, I'll give you a brief summary. Basically, it uses Chromium, which is the open source portion of Google Chrome. So it basically turns your app into like a customized web browser that, runs everything as a web page, more or less. So things like Slack is kind of the most well-known and perhaps most hated Electron app. I'm not inherently opposed to using web technologies to create apps, but if I were going to do it, I would do it in a different way, I think. Haven't heard much bad about Slack. Okay, interesting. I hear people complain about it a lot. I think Mac users love to complain about Electron apps, or at least a certain segment of Mac users, so that could be it. JS is everywhere and I hate it. I think that's fair. I kind of love JavaScript. I just hate what a lot of people do with it, I think is how I would summarize it. I think that if you'd use JavaScript well, it's a pretty good technology. But I started making web pages before JavaScript existed, so I have kind of always written JavaScript by hand, and always tried to keep it really concise and simple and not use it unless there's a good reason to use it, which is much, much different from how a lot of people use JavaScript. Discord is Electron too. Yeah. And like, I understand what leads to those kinds of decisions, but it's not my favorite. It uses a lot more RAM, and system resources, CPU and stuff than it really needs to. Hinton, hello, what is happening? We're talking about Electron apps and JavaScript. And also, here's a door. So we're going to take this door, and we're going to make it invisible. But World Builder understands that this is a shape, and it will actually use the actual shape of the object to make it clickable. So then we can write code to see if the player has clicked on that shape. JavaScript is designed to enable bad things. Yeah, that's fair, I think. I think that's very fair. But counterpoint, like, I was able to write well, I guess a lot of this isn't thanks to JavaScript, but like these days you can get an emulator running in a browser, and I was able to create versions of my games that you can play in your browser, and that's partially thanks to JavaScript, not entirely. But like on one hand, that's kind of, it's a little bit cursed that you can do that. On the other hand, it's also a little bit great. Okay, so we're basically creating an alternative to this here. So that handles text commands, and then we're going to add a click command for the same thing. I don't know why I pasted that, that's not useful. So bus door was what we called this. And then we're just gonna move the player. So that should work now. And, oh no. What did I do? Oh God, what? I missed a curly bracket, I guess. Okay. It's all better now. Hint says, I thought we didn't talk about World Builder anymore, the Forbidden Stream series. No, it's not forbidden. But yes, as Unsacred Crush explains, it was just on pause for December, but now it is Marchtober, or Marchintosh if you prefer. It's still December on Tuesdays, but don't worry about that. It's fine. Gonna keep on not talking about World Builder just in case. Okay, I mean, if that's what you're comfortable with, that's fine. Okay, so we're just gonna check that real quick. Cheat win. And there's our bus, and so I'm going to double check. So if I'm clicking here, it's outside the shape that we pasted in. In this case, it's fine if the player clicks here and we get on the bus, but I just want to check. Okay, yeah, so that's not recognized. Like, it's within the rectangle that makes this shape, but it's not within the actual shape. Oh no. What? Oh right, I didn't put that object in this room. I was thinking about this, and then I got distracted by our little Electron JavaScript chat. Which, this is exactly why I wasn't going to go on an Electron rant. But I accidentally created that as a mobile object that could appear in any room of the game. Which is not what we want. So we want it to appear in bus arrived. It has no value. It doesn't actually matter. And it's immobile. That's the important one, and then putting it in the correct spot is also important. Okay. Hello, Thanatos. Good to see you. It's going pretty good. We're awfully close to finishing this up, although it seems like there's always more to do. I guess that's just software development, honestly. I was about to say game dev, but no, it's all software development. You're welcome. Hinton says, so if I understand correctly, we're porting redacted to JavaScript now. No, Lua. We got on the topic of Electron and JavaScript because I came across, shoot, what is it called? I can't remember the name, but I was looking into game engines that support Lua as a scripting language, because that would allow me to take the Playdate version of the game and port it to other systems. Once I've created a Playdate version of the game. This is kind of hypothetical if I wanted to port it to more systems. in the future. And there was one I came across that seemed promising, but it turned out it creates an Electron app, which I'm not a real fan of. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I'd rather have something more lightweight, especially because the stuff I want to do is very, very simple. Okay, so now we're back here again. Okay. And I was right that clicking outside the shape does not do anything, but clicking inside takes us here, exactly as we want. Recently heard about Lua and I'm learning it. Nice. Love 2D. Yeah. That is, I think, a different one that I came across. But the one I'm thinking of is, I think, a different one. I think. Learning Android, Devin, it's pretty hard. Yeah, I have never really looked into that myself. But it always seemed like it would probably be complicated to me just because you have so many different devices to account for, and you have a lot of companies like Samsung, for example, does some pretty heavy customization to Android, and I'm sure that causes a lot of little things you have to look out for, I would assume. iOS is... I would say it has gotten kind of complicated, but you can still get started on it pretty easily, I think, and your options for getting started on it have gotten easier and easier over time. For example, you've got SwiftUI now, which is a very simplistic way of doing some fairly complex things. And it's pretty easy to get started with, I think. But it can get complex, especially a lot of what's gotten harder over the years is you've got a lot of things like home screen widgets and Siri shortcuts and stuff like that if you want to make an app that's really successful, some people will expect your app to support all those little things, and Apple kind of introduces new stuff every year. So keeping up with all that can be a lot to take on. But, if you just want to make an app to get started, you don't have to worry about all that stuff. And yeah, it also, it depends a lot on, how much programming experience you already have and stuff like that. Although, I first started making iPhone apps the year the App Store was introduced, and at the time, everything was written in Objective-C, and I was able to write an app without too much trouble and became pretty successful. But, I also had a lot of background in JavaScript and PHP and World Builder scripting language and stuff like that. So, I was familiar with a lot of the concepts, at least. It says, is it pronounced love? I don't know if the umlaut changes the pronunciation there. Love 2D is what I would recommend. I frankly do not care for any alternatives and know I have not heard of them or tried them. Thank you for your feedback, Hinton. I will check it out since you specifically recommended it. Home screen wigglers. Yep. That's what we call them. Thanos says, personally, I wasn't wanting to learn Lua, but it's part of this free course from Harvard in game development. Yeah, you mentioned that when you rated the other day. I started learning it specifically because of the Playdate. You can create apps in Lua or C, and like Objective-C, I know, and it like that's kind of built on top of C. So like I have some familiarity because of that, but like I don't like dealing with memory management. Like, no thanks. Like, I'll do it if I have to, but I'd rather not. Thank you. And Lua performs perfectly fine for the stuff I'm doing, so I find that a little easier to use. And it's got some weird things about it, like arrays are one indexed, which is not a thing I enjoy thinking about, just because no one else does it that way. But for the most part, I've found it pretty easy to learn. Pretty sure it's pronounced like normal love. Okay, thank you. Love2D has a pathway to build Mac apps. Unsure if it survived to still actually work in 2014. The year we live in, yes, 2014. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I noticed that. Another one that Silver recommended was... trying to find... I know I have it open in tab. D something. Dfold. I haven't looked at that one too much yet. 2024. Ah, yes, it is 2024, isn't it? Thanatos asks, what's the difference between C and C++? I am unable to answer that question, actually. I'm trying to find... Okay. Got too many things open here. It says, my opinion on Dfold is, oh, is Love2D not available anymore? That's fair. Therefore, is a big fan of arrays being one indexed, I can see. Okay, what are we doing now? Did we finish the thing? Yeah, we made that clickable. Getting distracted too much here. So we were gonna build a little reply interface. Right. C++ is object-oriented. But I don't know exactly what that means in terms of how you write code. Davor says C++ is kind of a super extension of C. It supports a lot of things like objects that C doesn't. So that's interesting. So it's kind of like Objective-C does kind of a similar thing. I think you can make iOS apps with Kotlin multi-platform. Interesting. I've heard of that, but don't need to know too much about it. I'm just looking at it a little bit here. I think Objective-C is like the C# of Apple. Okay. Although, if I recall correctly, Apple uses another high-level language more commonly now. Yeah, Swift is their newest thing. You can, at this point, still use either to create apps for Apple platforms, but Swift is definitely what they're moving towards. There's certain things now that you can only do in Swift, like your home screen wigglers or widgets if you prefer. I still occasionally end up writing some Objective-C somehow, but not very often. And Swift is pretty nice, I think. There's some ways in which you can get a little bit weird and confusing. but I enjoy writing it. Probably my least favorite thing about Objective-C was having to write header files and maintain those separately. Never enjoyed that. And that's no longer a thing I have to worry about in Swift. Hinton says, I've made iOS apps with Android Studio. Interesting. Using libgdx greater than RoboVM. I'll take your word for it. Man, I keep getting distracted completely. So I think actually, well, let's see if we can look at what I wanted to look at. I wanna look at our little sweetie interface. We can kind of look at that here. Okay. So here's our basic interface. This is missing some, like the screen has a list of emails here that we're not seeing, but we're getting the majority of it. And then I think we have separate screens where this email header is absent when you're actually looking at an email. So we're going to create another screen that is within this interface here. And so Lil Sweetie, for anyone that's not familiar with this device, is our fictional PDA for girls. That's pretty much just an email device. Originally, we were going to make it a little more multi-purpose, but we decided to simplify things and make it just for email. It's got this sassy little mascot, Lillian Sweetie. You can press a button and she'll make sassy comments. I think the creators of this device were not, maybe not the most competent, because they designed this email device without a keyboard. So it's mostly a reading device. But if someone emails you, you can reply to them using some canned responses. So we're going to have an interface where you can reply to one of your emails that pops up using maybe 3 different responses you can choose from, and then there'll probably be a cancel option for if you don't want to do that. As I'm talking about this, I'm trying to kind of visualize how I want this to look and work. Let's start with, I'm just going to take a, it's not going to work actually. I'm trying to take a screenshot. It's tricky because the keyboard shortcut for taking a screenshot has not changed over the years. So if it's enabled on my modern Mac that I'm streaming from, that will intercept it, as opposed to taking a screenshot within my emulator, which is what I want to happen right now. I'm just checking settings here. Screenshots. Okay, yeah. I turned it back on at some point because we hadn't done World Builder for a while. Okay, so now I should be able to take a screenshot. I think we'll also look at this in the game so we can get the full interface. Some next level skeuomorphic UI. Thank you, Fight Magic Item Run. Also, it's good to see you. Oh, greater than here means piped through. Okay, thank you for the clarification, Hinton. Okay, so we can cheat and get some items, including, here's the little sweetie lying on the ground here. It's a pretty chunky device. And then we can use it. And enter our secret pin. spoilers. Okay. Okay. And here's our full interface. So I did want to take a screenshot of that whole thing. So we're going to make something that kind of is similar to this, but instead of selecting messages, you're going to select a reply. And the idea here is that Lil Sweetie herself is helping you craft your reply. So I'm not sure if this is maybe going to appear as like a giant word balloon, or again, I'm like kind of thinking out loud here, trying to figure out how I want to design this. So here's a comment, what you might say. Okay. Personally, I still do anything in jobs. I'm on a programming language called jobs now. I think that's reasonable. I have never, well, okay, no. I was about to say I've never written anything in Java, but that's not correct. I have written the tiniest, I've modified someone else's Java code at one point in my career. That's about as much Java as I have done or could manage. I think based on that experience, I think I could learn it relatively easy if I had some reason to. But that has never really happened. I guess we don't really need the outer. Let's just delete all this and focus on the screen. Okay. Oh, I did it. I didn't expect the pattern to line up perfectly on the first try. Okay. So I think it makes sense for this to kind of be in a word balloon, though it's going to have to be designed a little differently because it's a huge word balloon. And also I might end up changing my mind on this. But I think at the top we want some text that says, would you like to send a reply? Like we need to give context for what you're doing here. We mostly used, oh wait, is that actually 10 point? Okay. Try bold. I don't love how that looks. So let's not use it. Let's see, so I'm going to be very fussy about alignment of things here. I want this to be on the same line as the email header, I think, even though it super does not matter. Oh, we also want our left side to line up. maybe you should just say send a reply instead of would you like to? Just to be more concise. What if we made it bigger and bold? Ugh. I don't like how that looks. Have I actually used this size of typeface anywhere? Let's take a quick look at some other screens you've designed for this. Let's see, we'll name this email reply 1. Drop it in our artwork folder. Okay, email UI. Okay. Oh, so we have used bold. Okay. Interesting. Oh, I think this is 9 point. And actually, I like the 9 point bold more. That's kind of interesting. Okay. I'm going to copy one of these for reference. Also, I do want to say this out loud. The other day, I thought of I was thinking about making other games in the future, and I think what kind of spurred this thought on is that making a different game made me sad about all the fun little things that come up for this game that, you know, wouldn't be part of a completely different game. But then I had the idea, well, what if all my games are just part of the larger Little Sweetie universe? So like I can have the same device or maybe a different device from the same company in a future game. So that gives me an excuse to like keep a lot of fun stuff from this that I like. I'm very tempted by this idea. Okay, those did not have to be lined up, but I did it anyway. Okay, so let's see. Send a reply. I do think bold makes sense. We just gotta find a bold that I like here. Maybe if I manually adjust the kerning, I'll like this better. It's very fussy, but I'm gonna do it. I think that looks pretty good. Can't tell if this is going to be better or worse. Yeah, it's... Kerning is hard at this resolution. But that's good enough, I think. Kerning. Hinton says, I'm kind of terrified by the idea of the Sweetieverse. What is it that terrifies you about it? Calendar. Calendar, thank you so much for that sub. 12 months, that's a whole year. Thank you so much for all your support. I hope you're doing good. So Hinton elaborates. She knows, and she's going to tell. That's true. I think that's a fair reason to be terrified. Can't believe it's been a year. Yeah, same. Unsecret Crush. How's the pizza coming along? I'm just kind of wondering how much longer I should go here. So I think I'm gonna not type the actual response text right now. It's something I just need to think about more before I actually figure out what it'll say. Got time? Okay. Oven is on, but the dough is still cold. Got it. Thank you. Let's choose some made up canned responses. Okay, thanks. See you later. I appreciate that. I'm just making things up. It doesn't matter. And then we'll have a cancel. Is that the wording we want to use? I'm also kind of thinking, like, how do we make it clear that this last option is like not sending an email as opposed to sending an email that says what the text is? Like, should these be in quotes? Oh, right. I can't use arrow keys here. Once it's typed, it's typed. The best I can do is backspace. We could have things in quotes. Just to be extra clear. What if instead of canned responses, there is a menu of words to choose from? You're trying to kill me here. In World Builder? Maybe in the Playdate version. Honestly, I love the idea, and I will definitely consider that for the Playdate version. On the Playdate, it is possible to bring up a keyboard, but I figured for the most part, we want to avoid that. We could potentially just like let the player type something in and then responds as though that they have sent a message that says that. But I feel like that doesn't accomplish what I want to accomplish, maybe. Ultimately here, like, you're replying to... I'm trying not to spoil too much for people that haven't seen that much of this game. You're replying to a loved one, and you're basically making a choice of how to, like, give closure to things, or choose to not do that. So, like, I want to, like, present, like, different choices of how to handle the situation, basically. Just to kind of guide the player in, you know, ways they can kind of see this situation wrapping up. That said, the idea of being able to, like, build a sentence out of words is kind of fun. But definitely not very doable in World Builder. Like, you could do it, but even just, like, you know, the screen I showed a bit ago where you're entering a code from a list of, you know, 10 numbers, That's was kind of a pain to do. Selecting from a curated set of words like magnetic poetry sounds more fun to me for some reason. Yeah. I think if done well, that could be really fun. And would also suit the hardware limitations of the Little Sweetie very well. So I will certainly consider that for the Playdate version, where we have significantly more control over how we program things. Okay, but for now, I think let's put things in quotes, and we'll see how that works, and then if we don't like it, we can change it later. I think that's what I had typed out. So now we have more flexibility for the cancel button wording. So we can say something like, no thanks. I don't know if that's necessarily what we want, but I like the idea of being less formal with the Little Sweetie UI. So my thought here with the interface, let me just kind of move this up. Well, actually, let's make a copy of this down here. I just want that shape handy in case I need it. But my thought here is, you know, we're setting this up as though Lillian is helping you craft this response. So maybe this whole thing is just a big word balloon. I'm trying to figure out exactly what that looks like. Hinton says, did I miss a chance to contribute to game design because I was making a chip sandwich? I don't think so. We did have a poll earlier where we decided on the bus driver's name. And the one we settled on was Sharon, which I'm now typing out because it's a reference to Karen, which many people pronounce Sharon. As far as I'm concerned, both are fine. But we decided that I guess I forgot to turn that off. We can't die in Mac Paint. I'm sorry, Hinton. I'll have to refund your money. What was I saying? So we figured more people would understand the reference if we spelled it S-H-A-R-O-N. Since it's only a one-letter difference. I'm trying to figure out how to determine where this line ends up here. Okay, so it's right at the top of her eye there. That should be right. Oh no, it is one pixel down. Okay. My mistake. So I can't decide. Let's make a little copy of this curve here. Like, should this just go all the way to the edge? In Mac Paint sounds like something Little Sweetie would say. That is true. I think you're right. That feels weird for some reason, to have it go all the way to the edge like that. get our actual text in here. Oh, I wish I could move this over more. Let's see. I think I want similar line spacing, which is why I'm not just pasting this right in here. Okay, I moved that down 5 pixels. Oh, I'm gonna have room for all this with the same line spacing. I really wish I could just... Okay, just double check. I can't use arrow keys. I think if I was using Super Paint, I think Super Paint supports the arrow keys. Okay, and I think no thanks should actually be a little bit lower. I think I'm actually going to move this up. I wanted this to be in line with the email header, but since we didn't do anything like that on this screen, it seems silly to worry about it. And this will allow us to space things out a little more. So I think actually we'll keep this in line with that. So let's go a bit more. Probably one more. Oh no, that's perfect. Okay, great. And then we'll just kind of put these in the middle of... Or maybe I want that spacing to be how it is. I think the no thanks we're actually going to have in 9 point. Just to further differentiate it and also kind of minimize it a little. We're getting there. Okay, now I want to try to make this amount of space. There's no way to... Okay, I can do this. I'm trying to measure things, so I'm making a selection here and I'm bringing it down here to see how the spacing compares. So that's maybe 4 pixels too low. I think it's still a pixel or 2 off. 1 pixel. No, 2. No, it's perfect. Okay. Okay. So I think if this is all how we want it, then I think this line should come up more. I'm still deciding if this is exactly what I want. And then I guess the other thing I should be thinking about is some of the actual responses we have might be a couple of lines of text. Meaning this whole block of text is going to be larger. So obviously I'll need to figure that out before we finalize any of this. But I do want to design this with that in mind. Let's save this. Let's actually save as. That way I can worry less about goofing up. We only have a single undo in Mac Paint. And certain things kind of reset the undo. Like if I zoom in, for example. So for the most part, it's not too hard to deal with, but you definitely want to like save often and save in different files just in case you want to back up more. We could potentially have a big balloon that actually does encompass all of this. Like inset the text a little bit more. But like I was saying, you know, if we end up having text that is on multiple lines, that might be an issue. Oh, also our selection box is gonna... Yeah, it's going to be larger than this text, so we need space for that. Because the selected row will be in this big black rounded rectangle. Let's actually put one of those in, just so we can better visualize how this is going to look. How to do this? We have invert, but not a keyboard shortcut for it. Centered. Yes. Great. Okay. So yeah, I think having this come up like this doesn't work. So we're not going to use that curve. So that leaves us with we can have the line go all the way to the edge like I had before. I missed a pixel, but you get the idea. We could have it just kind of end in line with our other stuff. It's actually not bad. I kind of like that. But then we could also kind of have it fade out. Don't know how this will look. how to dig that, but I'm not positive. I guess we'll go with that for now. I might want to spend a little time thinking this over before I finalize it. I'm not sure where this bottom line is going to end up in our finished thing. But let's move it up another pixel or two for now. Just to make things easier on myself. Had not even thought of using the top of the window as a guideline. Actually works pretty well. Okay, let's see. If I take this, copy it, flip it. Then we can make this side identical. Interesting. This might look weird. We might want to make it less identical, actually. Oh, we ran out of music again. Yeah, that looks too... something like that. That seems pretty nice. Okay, I'm just looking at my to-do list here. I think since the text isn't finalized, it's not worth putting this in the game yet, because they'll just give me a bunch of stuff I have to redo later. So this might be a good point to wrap things up for today. I don't have any other easy things we can do right now. Okay, yeah. My to-do list is super short now, which is very exciting. I'm just looking at some references I have for entering the bus. I have a couple here that this is probably the best one. So like, you know, I'll have something like this fare box here. And here's another one. I like this. I like the design of this fare box more, and I like that it says fares on it. To make it super clear what it is. So yeah, this will probably be our main reference. I would like to get a little bit of the, like, see the frame of the door. But other than that, I feel like this is a pretty close to what I have in mind. But that'll be next time. And I don't know when that will be. So like I was saying, I would love to finish this up before the year point, which is going to be April 11th. Hopefully we can finish it this month even. But, you know, whatever works out is fine. I don't want it to drag on too much longer. Because we're so close, and it'd be nice to finally wrap it up. And I would love to start experimenting more with Playdate development and get going on that version. Yeah. I am currently playing... my OPD Island continues on Tuesdays. It's still December on Tuesdays. But on Fridays, we have started playing Zork 1, which I will continue this Friday. Once we finish Zork 1, then I will do World Builder on Fridays until this is wrapped up, I think. At least that's the current plan. I don't really know how long it'll take me to get through Zork. We made some pretty major progress on Friday in terms of exploration and mapping things out and stuff. But we only managed to get one treasure out of 20. We only got like 55 points out of 350. So there's a lot to go. I'm really curious to see how much progress we'll make this week. Yeah. It's over, but I barely avoided doing any work yet. Well, good news. You can avoid work by doing other things. There are many ways in which you can avoid work. You could even choose to do nothing at all to avoid work. I do that all the time. Let's see if we can find someone to say hello to here. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you all for the raids. Appreciate that very much. Oh, I got a bunch of folks streaming. French Toast, please, is playing Jackbox. Dr. CDCS is playing XCOM. I think we will say hello to French Toast, since we don't get to raid over there very often. Thank you. I'm stupidly doing work when I could have not doing it. Oh no, that's terrible. I'm so sorry. Why do I keep ending up in all caps? There we go. And here's a raid message if you like one. No pressure though. You don't have to. Couple options depending on whether or not you have my emotes. Thanks again, y'all. We'll see you again soon. Take care of yourselves, and see you around.